The story begins in a quiet, rural town in Louisiana in the late 1940s. The weather is humid, and you can feel the weight of the heat as the people move slowly through their day. In this town, there is a courthouse where a young black man named Jefferson is on trial for a crime he did not commit. The courtroom is stiff and quiet, with Jefferson sitting silently, while the all-white jury listens to his defense lawyer. The lawyer's strategy is shocking. He calls Jefferson a hog to show that he isn't smart enough to plan a crime. Jefferson sits, barely looking up, the words crushing him more than the trial itself. The scenery is tense, the room full of tension, with the faint sound of people shifting in their seats. Now we move to the plantation where Grant Wiggins, the local schoolteacher, lives and works. Grant is intelligent and educated, but he feels trapped in the small, oppressive world of the plantation. His classroom is a church building, simple and worn, the wooden benches and walls faded from years of use. The children sit quietly, but there is an air of exhaustion and hopelessness that hangs over the room. Grant does not want to be here, teaching in a place that offers little hope for his students or himself. Outside, the plantation is quiet, with the occasional sound of wind rustling through the sugarcane fields. This is a place where dreams fade, and Grant feels it every day. One day, Grant's aunt, Tante Lou, comes to see him with Miss Emma, Jefferson's godmother. Miss Emma is a strong, determined woman, but her eyes are full of pain. She asks Grant to visit Jefferson in prison, to teach him how to die with dignity before his execution. The house where this conversation happens is modest, with simple wooden furniture and an old stove. The air is thick with unspoken words and the heaviness of their request. Grant, unwilling and bitter, agrees to help, though he knows it will be difficult. The weight of responsibility hangs over him as he prepares to visit the prison. Now we find ourselves in the prison. The building is old, with cold stone walls and iron bars that seem to swallow all hope. Jefferson sits in his cell, alone and defeated, staring at the ground. The cell is small and bare, with only a simple bed and a barred window that lets in just a sliver of light. Grant arrives and sits across from Jefferson. At first, their conversations are awkward, filled with silence and tension. Jefferson refuses to speak, believing himself to be nothing more than the hog they said he was. The cold, lifeless atmosphere of the prison mirrors Jefferson's spirit, broken and dim. Over time, though, something begins to change. Grant returns to the prison again and again. Slowly, the walls between them start to crumble. The gray stone walls of the prison seem to soften as Jefferson begins to open up. He starts asking questions, reflecting on his life, and thinking about what it means to die with dignity. The transformation is subtle but profound. They talk about life, death, and what it means to be human. In these moments, the coldness of the cell is replaced with a warmth that comes from the connection they are forming. Grant, too, is changed, learning lessons about empathy and resilience. As Jefferson's execution date approaches, the entire community feels the weight of it. People gather in their homes, small, modest houses with wooden floors and dimly lit rooms, discussing the tragedy of Jefferson's fate. Tante Lou and Miss Emma continue to visit him, determined to show him love and support. The scenes shift between the somber prison and the humble homes of the black community, where strength and faith are the only things keeping people together. Even the weather seems to reflect the mood, with heavy, overcast skies and the distant rumble of thunder. The final days come quickly. The prison, once again cold and unfeeling, is now filled with a deep sense of sorrow. Jefferson is prepared for his execution, but he has changed. He stands tall, no longer the broken man who once sat in his cell. Grant watches him with a mix of pride and sadness, knowing that while Jefferson's life is about to end, he has achieved something meaningful. The scenery in these moments feels heavy, the air thick with emotion as Jefferson walks to his death with dignity, not as a hog, but as a man. After the execution, the mood in the town is one of quiet grief. The people move slowly through the streets, the usual hustle and noise of life dulled by the loss of Jefferson. The community gathers in their homes, speaking in hushed tones about what has happened. The sky is a deep, dark blue, and the wind moves through the fields, carrying with it the memory of a young man who found his humanity in his final days. The story ends with Grant reflecting on what has happened. He stands in the church where he teaches, looking out at the empty benches. The air inside is still, and the sounds of the outside world seem far away. Grant realizes that while Jefferson's death was a tragedy, it was also a moment of redemption. The scenery here is calm, quiet, and reflective, a fitting end to a story about finding dignity and humanity in a world that so often tries to strip it away.